Thank you to everyone who's come along today. It's a great turnout, and thanks especially to some of my MSP colleagues who have been lured out of the concrete bunker for the day, which is very kind of the Chief Whip to allow them out. Now, 1 year from now, the people of Scotland face an important choice about the direction of our country. But before I speak about the 2026 election, let me talk about our obligation towards those who voted in the last election in 2021. No matter which party people picked, they expected MSPs they elected to act on their behalf and to get things done. They expected the NHS to recover post-COVID and waiting lists to shrink. They expected more teachers and improved school standards. They expected a growing economy with jobs and opportunities. Now, people didn't expect miracles, but they did expect and were entitled to expect some progress, some improvements. But since the 2021 election, the Scottish Parliament has achieved next to nothing. Holyrood has failed to deliver. It promises so much and it achieves so little. And it's a truth that MSPs of other parties do not care to admit. But mutual backslapping and parliamentary grandstanding does not change that reality. Parliament's failure to deliver has further eroded public trust in politicians. The SNP think that they can make and break promises with impunity. They take voters for granted. They believe they can say and do anything they want, arrogant in the belief they will suffer no consequences. But there is one serious consequence, and that is the deepening divide between politicians and the public. People say politicians are all the same. They say that nothing will ever change. John Swinney tries to claim he's doing a good job, but he's not being honest with himself or with the public. So ask yourself these questions. Can you get a GP appointment faster? Are standards rising at your local school? And are your bills any lower? Now, for most people, the answers to these questions are no. NHS waiting lists grow, schools get worse, and bills keep going up. You pay more, but get less. And as I said to the First Minister yesterday, in response to his programme for government, things must change. We have a duty to the public over the coming 12 months. Every promise must be kept. Parliament's focus has to be on what really matters. MSPs cannot squander the next 365 days. They must work constructively on what is truly important. There is surely a majority at Holyrood willing to deliver tangible progress for mainstream Scotland. MSPs must demand better value money for taxpayers. They must respect public money as if it was their own. Bills must come down for businesses and families. Roads need to be fixed, and when people phone a GP, they need to be able to get an appointment. And schools need to be safe spaces for learning. And I call on MSPs to agree that these priorities deserve our collective attention. I hope there can be a majority for action. The Scottish Parliament should strive for a common purpose of delivery. And that's what makes John Swinney's programme for government so disappointing. It's not bold or ambitious. It's not a plan for a stronger Scotland. It's just another example of SNP dishonesty and spin. It continues taking us down a path to a weaker Scotland. What a wasted opportunity from a politician who has run out of ideas. Having trashed Scottish education, the SNP is now targeting our traditional exam system. They say they're abandoning what they describe as high-stakes exams in some subjects. Now, what they mean is that they will lower standards and then call it progress. But lowering the bar is not the way to help pupils. It is a depression on incentive. And John Swinney's other idea is to create a centre for teaching excellence. And is that not what schools are supposed to be? I mean, Scottish schools were centres for teaching excellence until the SNP came along. Instead of putting more teachers into classrooms, they're creating yet another public sector talking shop. Because we know that John Swinney has a shameful and dismal record of wasting taxpayers' money. So we should not be surprised that his programme for government promises to waste more cash on his obsession with breaking up our country. He will commission a taxpayer-funded report to build an economic case for independence. Well, spoiler alert, John, there isn't one. There is no economic case. He was at it again today in his speech. He was banging on about independence. And his report will just be another waste of cash that will benefit absolutely nobody. It won't create jobs, it won't reduce waiting lists, and it won't improve schools. And it doesn't end there. Because have you heard about John Swinney's brand new service for asylum seekers? Now, this will allow asylum seekers to, quote, access the support they need when they need it. And we've done some research which found that the new service could also help those who are in the country illegally. Our research has also found that John Swinney will fund this new service with £14.4 million of your money. He will give asylum seekers, some of whom are here illegally, the support they need. So why can't he do that for the people who live here now? Scots who work hard, pay their taxes and contribute to their communities. How can spending £15 million on a new service for asylum seekers be a priority for a responsible government? The programme for government confirms the SNP's wrong priorities, with John Swinney offering more of the same. A typical SNP politician who's not focused on the day job of improving people's lives. Now, my focus is crystal clear. My party will dedicate itself over the coming 12 months to the common purpose that all MSPs should be able to agree on. A unity of purpose that the Scottish Parliament should share, of working to fix the NHS by dedicating resources to the front line, of repairing our education system by putting knowledge back at the heart of the curriculum, of unleashing Scotland's economic potential, helping bring down bills and deliver better value for taxpayers, of getting the country back on track by showing those who feel disconnected from the Scottish Parliament that we can deliver the change that they want to see. Because that's what the public wants. No more nonsense, no more wasting time on fringe obsessions. People just want politicians to use some common sense for a change. We'll live up to our end of the bargain. We'll spend the next year focused on the hopes, needs and concerns of the people of Scotland. However, we know from John Swinney's programme for government that they won't. The SNP's dire record speaks for itself. They waste time and money trying to break up our country, and this will never stop. They remain obsessed with gender politics. They fail to focus on the issues that matter to mainstream Scotland. And since becoming First Minister a year ago, John Swinney has been playing a game. John Swinney tries to pretend he's not the same John Swinney who was in the SNP cabinet for almost 2 decades. But it is the same John Swinney, the same old John Swinney, the John Swinney who signed off the corrupt ferry contract, who let our schools slide down international league tables, who defended sinister state overreach in the Named Persons Bill, who deleted his messages to hide them from the UK COVID inquiry, who was in charge of education during the SQA exam scandals, who used every sneaky trick in the book to cover up for the SNP during the Salmond inquiry, and who still can't say what a woman is. The same John Swinney was Nicola Sturgeon's biggest ally. All of this and more was the same old John Swinney. But I'm feeling charitable today, so I'll give John Swinney this. He has got a lot of experience. Experience of breaking promises, experience of abject failure, experience of always putting the SNP's narrow interests before the good of the country. He's become such a master in the politics of spin that some polls suggest he's going to win the next election. But I refuse to accept that. Now, some of you might want to talk about what happens in that scenario or any other possible outcome. And all I will say is this. As a proud Scot, the thought of John Swinney getting 5 more years in power keeps me awake at night. It troubles me deeply. I worry about the damage to our economy. I worry about SNP high taxes and hostility towards business. I worry about what will become of our farming and fishing communities. I worry about declining standards and dangerous influences in our schools. I worry about the lack of opportunity for young people. I worry for everyone who needs a GP appointment or is trapped on an NHS waiting list. And I worry for everyone in Scotland with ambition and aspiration. If the SNP win next year, I worry for Scotland. Our country will again be divided by nationalism, the base politics of populism. And that's why every single day my party stands up to them, as we have done for 18 years. But not everybody understands this. Not everyone is as worried as I am about an SNP win. Nigel Farage isn't worried. He said so himself. He said, and this is a direct quote, he's not that worried about the SNP. Nigel Farage also says that he would rather put the SNP into power at Holyrood than a pro-UK party. He would gladly gift the SNP another 5 years in power. I'm not surprised. This is the party with pro-independence candidates. Reform don't get it. Anyone who would let the SNP into office cannot claim to be a pro-UK party. And that's why John Swinney isn't scared of Nigel Farage. He is thrilled by him. He doesn't want to confront reform. He wants to help them. It's actually John Swinney's dirty little secret. Publicly, he pretends to despise them. Privately, he adores them. If John Swinney spent as much time reforming public services as he did talking up reform, Scotland might actually get somewhere. But of course, that's far too difficult for the SNP. Nationalists always promote a political bogeyman instead of doing the hard work of good governance. And that's why John Swinney constantly talks up Nigel Farage's reform. Because a vote for reform is a gift to the SNP. We saw this at the general election, and we see it in the polls. And if you don't believe me, then listen to experts like Professor Sir John Curtis. And I don't say this because of concerns about reform impact on my party alone. I didn't get into politics for narrow party political reasons. But when I think about next year, my first thought is not what will happen to my party. It's what will happen to my country if Nigel Farage hands John Swinney another 5 years in power. And that's why I am willing today to make this guarantee about what happens after next year's election. My party will never back John Swinney as First Minister. We will never back an SNP government, and we will never, ever vote to let that happen. And if you And if you want to know the difference between me and Nigel Farage, that's it. I'm here to get rid of the SNP for the good of our country. Nigel Farage is happy to let them win for the good of his party. But beyond that, as much as you might want me to, I'm not going to talk about what happens after the election, because we are focused on what needs to be done over the next 12 months. The 2026 result is not set in stone, just as it wasn't in 2021. My party is used to being written off by the pollsters and the pundits and then proving them wrong. And at home and abroad, we've witnessed the unexpected and dramatic political turmoil. From Labour to Donald Trump, the fortunes of politicians and parties change rapidly. I'm not at all complacent. I know the scale of the challenge that we face, and I also know that it's a lengthy process. And when I was elected, I made it clear that I was determined to change our party, and I knew that it would take hard graft. I know the work that my party must do to remove the Nationalists from power, and I'm aware of the challenges, and I am ready for the fight. We've got an opportunity here to throw a retirement party for John Swinney next year. Now, this is the man who says he now intends to cling on in Butte House until 2031. And I'm absolutely confident in the direction that we have to take. You won't catch me flip-flopping like Anna Sarwar, whether on women's rights or just about anything else. Under my leadership, our party knows what we stand for. We stand for common sense, conservative values. We stand for opportunity so that everyone has the same chance to succeed. We stand for lower taxes because you should control more of the money that you earn. We stand for faster GP appointments achieved by spending less on NHS bureaucracy and more on the front line. We stand for raising school standards by fixing the curriculum and cracking down on bad behaviour. We stand for a fair justice system that works for victims, not for criminals. And we stand for a strong Scotland, proudly leading a strong United Kingdom. And we stand for putting the people of Scotland first and fixing our own backyard. And that's the choice we will put before the voters. A Scottish Conservative Party focused on bringing down bills, faster GP appointments, improving schools, fixing roads and delivering better value for money, or more years of the SNP raising taxes, ruining the NHS, wrecking Scottish education and throwing taxpayers' money down the drain. My party will say what needs to be done and then get on with delivering. It's a choice between a party of common sense or yet more SNP nonsense. So I say this to everyone who wants change in Scotland. The Scottish Conservative Party is ready to represent you. We will not lurch to the right, as some commentators suggest. We are putting forward our own positive vision, a proud Scottish Conservative vision for a better and more prosperous Scotland. In just 1 year from now, we can remove the SNP from power. So let's move on from this wasted era of division and failure. I am determined to make that happen. Thank you very much. Thank you.